Today's Burlington Northern and Santa Fe Railway is a modern and progressive transportation system with railroad lines stretching all over the Midwest to the West Coast. One of the most important lines is the former Santa Fe Railway main line that runs between Chicago and Los Angeles and the San Francisco Bay Area. In central New Mexico, we find one of the busiest segments of the railroad, the line through scenic Abo Canyon. This program will cover the Abo Canyon line from its start in Belen to the summit of the grade at Mountainair. Belen, New Mexico, at an elevation of 4,785 feet, is BNSF's hub in the region, with a large yard and tracks going in all four directions. Locomotives and trains can be seen moving about during all hours of the day and night. The railroad arrived here in 1880, and reminders of the old times include the Harvey House Hotel and Eating Room, now a museum, and the old passenger depot, which is now housing BNSF offices. Next door to the Harvey House is the modern building where operations are now based. The busiest parts of the yard are the two fuel racks. On the west side of the facility are the fuel racks for the westbound trains. Here, there is a constant parade of trains pulling into the yard, being refueled, changing crews, and then resuming their journey west. On the east side of Belen Yard are the fuel racks for eastbound trains. On the day of our visit, there were a variety of locomotives here that were waiting for their next assignment. Here are a couple of General Electric Dash 944 CWs. One, number 988, is in BNSF's first paint scheme, which some rail fans call the Heritage 1 scheme, and the other, number 4938, is in the newer Heritage 2 scheme, which somewhat resembles the old Santa Fe warbonnet paint scheme. Also located at the fuel rack are Burlington Northern 6776, which is an Locomotive SD40-2, and the 6969, which is an old Amtrak SDP40F passenger unit. Parked nearby is GP60M number 153, which has been relettered BNSF, and Santa Fe 635, which is a General Electric Dash 944 CW, still in the classic red warbonnet paint. Also in the yard were several locomotives painted in the old Santa Fe yellow and blue colors, as well as other Burlington Northern units. Although not a major repair facility, the yard is able to handle minor repairs of locomotives, and we get a chance to ride through the yard in the cab of number 4938 as it is moved to the inspection pit, followed by an explanation of the new desktop computer screen on the locomotive.
When you get to the BOC here on your way back to the train, I'm going to hand some stuff up to you.
This is your integrated function Thank you. Your integrated function display. We call it a computer. Basically, what it shows you is all the activity that goes on for cutting in and cutting out your brakes. You have distributed power when you have locomotives on the rear end. You have screen controls to brighten and dim it. Screen off. You have password for maintenance, alarm tests. This will tell you if all your systems are on, whether you have lights for them to display. You have operator functions for air brake setup, where you change your lead, cut your lead independent brake out, cut your automatic brake out, or set it to passenger. You can set your feed valve setting. That's for distributed power, in case you have engines on the rear of the train, your locomotives are running, the lead units are running them. This tells you what's going on for your event log, for what's happening.
Engineer can pretty well do it all from his desk.
Everybody can sit here, right here, and do it. You have your equalizing reservoir, your brake pipe, and your brake cylinder pressure for your independent brakes, your main reservoir. This is for your ETD, shows how much air is on your rear. This is your ETD number, telling you what's communicating between the two systems. And this is your flow meter for making your air test. These dials are your numerical gauges for the same thing, equalizing reservoir and brake pipe. This is your tractive effort. Your distance counter for telling you how far you can travel, your engine number. This tells you your throttle position and how much amps you're drawing and where your reverser is at.
Pretty much it.
Pretty much it. This is your overspeed. It can be reset for anything, but it's set for 73 on all freight units. And it shows that you're in the lead for independent braking and you're in automatic braking as freight. and it shows that your engine is ready. This screen is set up to monitor the functions of the locomotive, and it's just a basic what is going on with the locomotive. Right now we're at about 330 RPMs for engine idle. Shows the engine is isolated. You got your water temperature, your oil temperature. You have your direction for reverser. Shows you're in idle. Then it shows your traction motor amperage while you're moving down the railroad, so you can monitor if your traction motors are functioning properly. You have your alternator volts, your alternator amps, your field amps. Basically, it tells you what's going on with the electrical system of the engine. You can kind of monitor it if you think there's trouble or you have problems with it.
Adjacent to the eastbound fueling facility is the old turntable, which is still used to turn locomotives. The roundhouse was not so lucky, as all that is left are the tracks and foundation. There are still traces of the old Santa Fe here, though, with the fuel tanks still being lettered for the old railroad, and yard buildings that have a more distinctive design than similar structures on other railroads. One thing that hasn't changed in Belen is the constant arrival of trains. This train has just arrived from the west on the Gallup subdivision, and after a crew change will depart to the east through Abo Canyon on the Clovis subdivision, which runs from here to Clovis, New Mexico. The Clovis sub is commonly referred to as the Belen Cutoff and was opened for service on July the 1st of 1908. This segment of the railroad was constructed as a means to bypass the Santa Fe's original line over Glorieta and Raton passes to the north, which was quite steep. Still, the Belen Cutoff was not without grades, and even today our trains will climb over 1,700 feet in the next 44 miles to Mountainair. We're just east of the yard, and this train has just crossed the Rio Grande River and is now hitting a 0.6% eastbound grade. The grade is really evident here at Madrone. At Becker, we find a classic holdover from the steam era, an old steel water tank, and the remains of a windmill and pump house. Although the water facility is a ghost from another time, sometimes the trains themselves look like the real mirages, as does this eastbound making the sweeping curve into Becker. Between the stations of Becker and Sice, eastbounds look like toys as they make their way through the vast expanse. Although the terrain looks flat, by now the trains are climbing a steady 1.25% grade, which they will have to contend with all the way to Mountainair. This is really an interesting place to watch trains. With scenic mountains in the background and the almost constant parade of trains, this area is a great place to be for the train watcher. Sometimes the trains come so fast that one can't even change photo locations. Eastbounds often wait in the siding here for their turn to head into the canyon. Zeiss is at the western edge of Abo Canyon. From here to Jolie, the railroad is single track as it climbs through the canyon. Abo Canyon is famous for its rugged terrain and the 7 bridges that reside within it. Perhaps the most famous is the westernmost, which we will refer to as Bridge Number 1. The area around Bridge 1 is quite scenic, and there are many trains. The BNSF has talked about building a bypass around the canyon, but for now, one can just sit back and watch the trains. As we watch one final train cross Bridge 1, let's head east into the canyon to see what else is there. Rail fans and cows aren't the only animals in the canyon, as evidenced by a pair of bighorn sheep which seem to be mildly interested in watching the trains at bridge number 5. Bridge number 7 may be the smallest bridge in the canyon, but it receives its share of railroading drama. Beyond bridge number 7, the railroad snakes along a narrow shelf as it climbs out of the canyon. We are just west of the siding at Cholee, where trains leave our short 4-mile-long canyon. Cholee is the eastern counterpart to Sice, where the double track resumes. Here we see a train heading down into the canyon with a Burlington Northern unit on the point. Just east of Cholet, the railroad makes a wide, sweeping curve as it snakes around a hill. This is a really interesting place to watch trains, as eastbounds are climbing hard, while westbounds like this one are easing down the hill with their dynamic brakes whining. The further uphill we go, the smaller the bridges get. We are only 30 miles east of Belen, but as this scene shows, the terrain has changed dramatically. This part of the railroad is at the very western edge of the Great Plains, a fact punctuated by this windmill keeping its lonely vigil as a westbound train creeps down the hill. Just up the line from the windmill is another relic from the past. This old dwelling sure has seen its share of trains. Only 4 miles from the summit is the station known as Abo, which is another neat place to watch the trains go by. This train has distributed power units on the rear, which are remotely controlled from the lead locomotive. We're just below the summit of the grade at Mountainair. The railroad makes this big sweeping curve to the south, then we'll curve east and head into Mountainair. Mountainair is the summit of the grade from Belen at an elevation of 6,508 feet. Located here is a classic old Santa Fe depot that is used today by the track crews. Mountainair is a small community that seems to be a holdover from the past. Its appearance sure hasn't changed much over the years. As we watch this westbound start downhill towards Abo Canyon and Belen, we've nearly reached the end of our visit to this interesting stretch of railroad. The sunsets here in New Mexico are beautiful in their own right, but sometimes the most classic scenes occur just after the sun has gone down, a fitting end to our visit to BNSF's Abo Canyon.